Now, anyone who tuned into my Donington Park disaster on Assetto Corsa Competizione earlier this week knows I was feeling pretty deflated after that race. Well, I've dusted myself down and I'm happy to say I am far more positive today. That's because this BMW M2 Cup race at Imola on Low Fuel Motorsport was an absolute cracker. Exactly what I needed after the lows of midweek. Now, I'm car number 9 and I'm starting P8 on a grid of 17, but just look at those lap times. All 7 drivers above me are in the 157s, while all the drivers below me are struggling in the 159s. It looks like I've got the pace to clear off from the pack behind me, but can I find that extra speed to challenge the leading 7? Let's find out. Here we go then, this one is underway and it is going to be an entirely different challenge to what I'm used to in Assetto Corsa Competizione. These BMW M2 Cup cars are a real handful, particularly on cold tyres, so I'm going to have to be extra careful on this opening lap until we get them up to temperature. So it's a really cautious route through this first chicane here at Imola. We've already lost one car, Ilya Nagin spinning off into the grass to the left, another 2 drivers returning to track from the gravel ahead. Meanwhile, I've got to deal with Manu Valero on my inside. Now, I suspect Valero might try and sling it up the inside into Villeneuve, so I certainly don't fancy going through here too wide on the opening lap. I'll just let him have that position, really tight through this section. I'm forced out a little bit wider, and look how close the pack is as we enter Tosa for the first time. Valero's still on my inside, but I tell you what, I think I may have actually held him off here, and I have done. Exiting Tosa, I am now once again in front of Valero and holding on to my 8th position, so a really encouraging start here. It was definitely the right call to let Valero enter Villeneuve ahead of me, because he then got caught up in traffic. I was able to maintain that wider line through Tosa and get the position back. So it's pretty much as you were on the leaderboard in terms of grid starting positions. The only casualty so far was Ilya Nagin at turn 1. Nagin crashing out of P5. However, the reason I've not gained a position on track is because of an absolutely blistering start from Lucas Mello. Mello started alongside me on the 4th row, but has already picked up a number of positions. Mello jumping from P9 up into P5. Meanwhile, behind me, I'm already starting to see a little bit of daylight open up in the rearview mirror. There's a gap now of 1.4 seconds back to Marco Oliveira in 9th position. And staying with the action in the rearview mirror, it looks like Manu Valero might have a look up the inside of Oliveira into Rivazza, and there's contact, the 2 of them spinning out by the looks of it. So look at the gap I've got now. That is exactly what the doctor ordered. We're going to finish this first lap with a gap of 2.5 seconds back to the nearest challenger. Right, let's go back and check out a replay. We can see exactly what happened at the start. The lights have just gone green. We're tearing down the start straight. And we're watching the number 3 BMW of Ilya Nagin starting from P5 on the grid, but it looks like Nagin is just going to get caught out on the brakes into turn 1. Tries to get out on the grass to avoid contact, but can't do it. Exiting the first chicane then, more casualties, a big crash in the background, but we're concentrating on this pack of 3 going into Villeneuve. 3 wide into Villeneuve does not work, as the number 7 of Yenya Salou found out. And then at the end of the lap, this is the incident that freed up so much space behind me. The number 15 of Manu Valero having a look up the inside of Marco Oliveira, spinning Oliveira around, several other cars involved. Right, back to the live action then. We're just starting lap 2. I'm in a really comfortable 8th position now. Look at that gap back to Valero. It is nearly 3 seconds, and we're watching Valero on the TV cam because he is going to make another big mistake going into Villeneuve, whacking that curb on the inside, which sends him out into the sand. And look at that gap increasing behind me now. It is more than 5 seconds. Right, let's fast forward a lap. We're going to jump to lap 3, and that gap back to Valero now is nearly 8 seconds. So I've got no pressure at all behind me. Instead, I can concentrate fully on chasing this pack in front. Now, before the race started, I did say that the big question would be whether I had the pace to challenge the cars in front of me. Well, we're about to find out, because I'm working hard to close in on Philippe Christen, and Christen gets it all wrong. Going into Villeneuve, he's sideways through there. Has he managed to keep it on track? Yes, he has, but he's lost enough ground for me to sneak past up into P7. Oh, Villeneuve is claiming its fair share of victims in the early stages of this race. Christen, who started P6 on the grid, just clipping the inside curb on entry into the corner. He manages to save it, does really well to save it actually, but it costs him a position. That is me up into P7, Christen down into P8. Right, we're on to lap 6 now. Kristen is nearly 3 seconds back, and I am chasing down Lucas Mello, but I've switched the TV cam on because Villeneuve is about to claim another victim. We're watching Lubos Korec, who started from P3 on the grid, is currently in P2, but not for long because he is out into the sand at Villeneuve. Now, can I get by before Korec gets back on track? Well, yes, I can, because he is making an absolute hash of his rejoin there. He just can't get out of the sand. So that is me up into 6th position and still breathing down the neck of Lucas Mello. In fact, I'm going to be closer than ever to Mello because he missed the apex into Tosa there, was very, very wide. So now I'm within 0.2 of a second of the Brazilian, and I'll get the chance to put him under some real pressure coming into Piratella. And will he crack under the pressure? He's a little bit wide there, out onto the curb. I won't get the chance to make a move here because it's going to put me on the outside into Acca Minerali. We don't want to be going through here too wide, so I'm just going to back out of it. But this is good. This is very, very good. I am finding a rhythm and I am putting Mello under all sorts of pressure now. He is looking rattled. Meanwhile, behind, Korec did indeed rejoin in 7th position, and he's only 3 seconds back, so I suspect we'll be seeing Korec again very soon. We know how quick he is, having qualified on the 2nd row of the grid. Right, jumping forward now to the start of lap 7. And we've got Lucas Mello holding 5th position. I'm just 0.2 of a second behind in 6th position. Then we've got Lubos Korec in 7th, 3 seconds back. Now, Korec's qualifying time was a 1:57.3. That's 0.8 of a second quicker than mine. So by my calculations, he's going to be on my tail within the next 3 or 4 laps. I have at least got my lap times down into the 1:57s now while chasing Mello, and it looks like my pressure may have finally paid off because Mello makes a big mistake into Villeneuve. Yet another victim of Villeneuve here at Imola. And yeah, it certainly seems like sensible driving is the key to success in this race. We've seen so many mistakes, the vast majority of them at this very corner. Mello is the latest driver to fall foul of that tricky section. Right, back to the live action. We're now on lap 8. And with just 10 minutes left on the clock, I find myself in a top 5 position. I never thought I'd climb this high before this race started. But you never know. Things might just get even better. And that is why I've switched the TV cam on to watch Dustin Bergholz, currently running in P3, but he loses the rear exit in Tosa and he goes nose first into the barrier. So Bergholz is going to rejoin right in front of me, but he has surely picked up some damage from that shunt into the barrier. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to get close enough to make a challenge into Piratella, so I'm going to have to tuck myself right in behind this battered black BMW and just hope that another opportunity presents itself before very long. If it doesn't, the 2 cars behind me will close right back in double quick time. Yeah, look at Bergholz. He is all over the place here. That car must be damaged. And actually, this puts me in a really tricky position. I want to get past this guy as quickly as I possibly can, but at the same time, I've got to remember that overtaking a driver who's just picked up damage presents its own challenges. So when the time is right, I need to be swift, I need to be decisive. Through this final chicane then, I'm within 0.4 of a second. I'm not going to be close enough to try and move up the inside into Rivazza. Meanwhile, behind, as predicted, the 2 cars are closing in. Mello now is just 1.1 second back, with Korec just 1.4 seconds back. So things are going to get really tasty here as we come to the end of lap 8. And what I need to do now is get as close as I possibly can to the rear end of Bergholz. This might be my best opportunity to get past him. The long start-finish straight here at Imola. Can I pick up a toe? Can I find the extra speed needed to pull alongside? Well, it doesn't look like it at the moment, but remember, he is driving a damaged BMW. He may well be down on top speed, so now I am able to pull alongside him. It's a drag race to turn 1. And I've committed to this pass now, so I've got to pull it off cleanly. I hug the inside line, take a lot of the curb, but I have got the job done. That is me up into 4th position, but Bergholz isn't going to take this line down, so immediately I'm going to have to take the defensive line towards Villeneuve. I don't want him trying to stick it up the inside. So now I've got this 4th position. I am trying my very best to protect it. I get into Villeneuve ahead of Bergholz. I'm still under pressure, so once again I'm going to go ultra defensive into Tosa, just closing off any potential gap on the inside. However, Bergholz's wider line through Tosa may give him some extra momentum and some more exit speed out of the corner. Is he going to pull alongside? Well, I can't defend this time because Bergholz has got his nose on the inside of me. However, I have just got the grunt to get into Piratella first. But at what cost? I'm hot into Piratella, I'm wide out onto the curb. It's me who's rattled now. So much for that rhythm I found earlier in the race. That has been thrown out the window now. And I think I'm too hot into Minerale as well. I'm going to have to take to the curb again. Dear me, I'm all over the place here. Bergholt's putting me under all sorts of pressure. Thankfully, I survived it. Kept the car facing in the right direction. I've had a track cut warning there, but I'll take that at this stage of the race. The fact that I'm facing in the right direction is a big win after that fright. And actually, it looks like I may have opened up just a little bit of daylight between myself and Bergholtz. Yeah, it's 0.5 of a second now, so will that give me just a little bit of time to take a breath, a little bit of time to get my composure back, because I desperately need to regain my rhythm here. And I'm still feeling confident that once I get a clean run at a few corners with no pressure from behind, I should be able to pull away from Bergholtz. After all, he's driving with damage. He surely can't keep up with me. I'm also hoping that Korech might do me a bit of a favour now, because Korech is right on the tail of Bergholtz. Maybe Bergholtz will concentrate more on defending against Korech than he does on trying to chase me. What's the gap now as we start lap 10? 0.6 of a second and 0.8 back to Korech. Oh, this is really close. And look at Korech, he's finally made the move into turn 1. He tucks it up the inside of Bergholtz. And now we've got Korech in 5th position, Bergholtz down into 6th. And now I'm expecting to see Korech make a break for it too. I fear that he's going to be on my tail before very long. And the big question is, can I hold on to this 4th position for the final 6 minutes of this race? I suspect it is going to be a very long 6 minutes. Well, we're jumping forward now to later on in lap 10, and my worst fears have been realised. That 1 second gap back to Korech is now just 0.3 of a second. We've switched on the TV cam as well to watch things from Korech's point of view. And he's going to see me make a big mistake into Ravazza. I ran in a little bit too hot there and was almost out into the gravel. I just about managed to keep it on the black stuff, but that has cost me another tenth or two. Is Korech close enough to pick up a toe down this start-finish straight and launch a strike into T1? I fear he might be, you know. At the moment, I'm doing everything I can to hold on to this 4th position, but we've still got 5 minutes left. This is going to be a real challenge against a driver who started 3rd on the grid. Well, I have made it to T1 ahead of him still. I can breathe a sigh of relief about that, but I suspect I am going to be under real pressure for these upcoming few corners. Next up is Villeneuve. I think I'm just about far enough ahead for him not to be able to try and move up the inside entering this corner. So at the moment, looking good in 4th position. I get Villeneuve pretty much spot on there, so I'm going to get to Tosa ahead of Korech as well. The temperature's rising, the pressure's rising, and I've made a mistake. I've just missed the apex into Tosa. Korech is going to get a run around the outside, but he is too wide as well. He's out onto the grass. Korech has gone, and with that spin, I think I might just have snatched 4th position. Oh, I've never been more glad to see a cloud of dust in my rearview mirror than I was then. Just as I'd made my own mistake going into Tosa, I feared I was going to be under attack, but instead, Korech runs it out onto the grass. He can't keep control, loses the rear and spins out. Well, as soon as Korech crashed out, I thought I'd done enough to have 4th position sewn up, but then I remembered what happened in Assetto Corsa Competizione the other day at Donington. I was counting no chickens before they hatched here. But while I finished that Donington race screaming no, 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 today I can scream yes, 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 absolutely thrilled with this 4th place in the BMW M2 Cup at Imola. Well, I said before the start of this one that I needed to improve my lap times in the race. I needed to get into the 157s, and I've done exactly that. But it was enough to give me an unlikely top 4 finish. Absolutely over the moon with this one. And boy, did I need that after the Donington debacle earlier in the week. If you haven't seen that one yet, check it out on screen now. But I will warn you, you may need a strong coffee to watch it with. But thank you to everyone who posted kind comments and positive words of support after that Donington disappointment. I really did appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again soon.